Okay, my name's Christine Gallagher. I'm currently an artist in residence at the University of Chester on the AA2A scheme. And this video, I wanted to make a video about my work as a digital artist and, you know, how I produce work digitally. I do also paint in the traditional ways, using the traditional methods, but I also use digital methods to help me to come up with a composition for my paintings, for making separate elements that I can piece together within a composition. Here is a little bit of a closer look at the tablet itself. So as you can see, it's just a blank piece of plastic. It's got some buttons on the side that have different functions to it. This one is called a repaper iskin. You can actually put physical paper down on this and draw onto the paper using this ring on a normal pencil. So that's one way of communicating with the software. I tend to I don't do that. I tend to work directly down onto this surface using this stylus. Okay, and it's this magnetic ring that communicates with the technology within the tablet. So it's quite low tech in some respects when you consider what is on the market at the moment. There's all sorts of fantastic tablets that are designed so you can work, it's all built in, so you can create the work on the screen. So every mark you make is responsive on the screen, so it all appears in front of you. This is slightly different in that you're essentially working remotely, because every mark I make down here is appearing up on the screen within the software. So that takes a little bit of time to master and to get your head round, but once you do master it, it's just as intuitive, really, I find, as it would be if I had a piece of charcoal or a pencil or a brush. Okay, so here we are inside the software. This is Artrage. This is what it looks like when you first open it. So you'll see a few things here on the screen, and I could spend a long time going through each one and what it all does. This is basically my little toolbox down here. I've got various pencils and pastels, paintbrushes, all sorts of things here that at my disposal to create my piece of art. Okay, and down here I have my colour palette, so there's all manner of different gradients of colour and hues within this palette here. So it's quite clever, and there's different little dialogue boxes here, and this piece of apparatus at the top allows me to enlarge it or move it around the screen as I would if I was working on a piece of paper or a piece of canvas or whatever. So that in a nutshell, that's kind of it. And what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to load my reference image, Isle of Dolls. So this is the image I'm going to be using to create quite a large scale painting. So as you can see, it's a collection of different dolls. That kind of fits the theme of what I'm working on at the moment. Let me just enlarge it. So yesterday I already created a little sketch of this top doll here, because what I want to do is create individual drawings of each doll. I might even pair those together because they seem to be together. But I'm going to draw them all out separately on individual artworks so that I can then print them off to a certain size and reposition them down so I can get a feel for how big the scale of the actual finished painting. And also it allows me to tweak the composition a little bit, because I don't want it to be a direct copy necessarily of this photo. It's going to look quite different as a painting. For instance, all of this element, all of the shadows in the background is going to be a different interpretation entirely. So there'll be certain metaphors used that correlate to some of the other work that I've created on this theme. So what I'm going to do, I made a drawing of this doll yesterday. Unfortunately, I didn't save it as the JPEG. It's still as a working painting, so I'd have to open that up and it would just complicate things. So I'm just going to demonstrate what I did yesterday, and I'm going to pick out this doll here. This is my favourite one actually on this image. I just love the look on its face and the stance of it. It's really great. So I'm going to be using that. So what I want to do, I just want to put that to one side a sec. Now, in order to work into the software, I need to create a new painting. So you get a dialog box that comes up, and there's different, you can put in your values here for height and width and, pixels per inch, DPI and everything. And there's a little box here that you can choose a substrate, but let's just go for this first. I'm going to go with some presets here. Print size creates an image file, if you like, that's going to come in at 300 DPI, which is ideal for printing. So I'm going to choose that. That gives me my size. Now the canvas, in the canvas box here, you can see there's all different types of substrates you can choose. I'm going to go to paper and just choose basic paper. Okay. And click OK. So this is my my paper that I'm going to draw onto using my stylus onto my tablet. So I'm drawing into it remotely. Let me just call up my reference image again. I don't quite know what's happened to that. I'm going to enlarge that. Now I want to focus on this figure here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge it and drag it centrally. So I've got a good look at just that there. Okay. So I'm now going to pick up my stylus and wait for it to, you can just about see the cursor moving around on my paper there. Now I'm going to go over here to my toolbox and I'm going to select this tool here, custom brush. Now the good thing about this software, and I suspect a lot of other softwares that are similar to this, it has all the onboard stuff that comes with it. This is all accessible. This is just standard. But what you can do is you can purchase other tools to upload into the software. And I did just that, and I got myself this set of pencils by Daub. So I'm going to choose the simple 2B pencil. It's already selected actually, which is good. And it's down here gives you the size. So, you know, and if you come over here to this palette, you'll see that it's down there. So it's just sort of a grey, you know, a charcoaly colour. Okay, so before we get started, I'll just demonstrate this kind of mark. So that's, you know, at 5%. I can make it a lot thicker than that. You know, you can do lots of different weights of line. Okay. In fact, what I'm going to do is just delete that layer. Oh, I'll clear the layer. There we go, cleared the layer. There we go. So I want to take that back down to my 5%. There you go. And I'm just going to start drawing. So just as if I was drawing with a sheet of paper and a pencil, I'm just going to draw directly into the software for what I'm seeing. As if I was just doing it, you know, analog, I believe is the term. So I'm just responding to what my eye is seeing, you know, in exactly the same way as I would with all observational drawing exercises, you know. So I'm going to make the same mistakes that I always make, usually with scale, and have to rectify, you know, find ways to rectify it in exactly the same way. So there's no jiggery-pokery going on. I think that's the misconception and what can cause a lot of people to be quite angry about digital art, because I think they think there's a lot of trickery that goes on, and there really isn't. And I hope this demonstrates that I am just drawing. And okay, there are certain things within it that make life a little bit easier in terms of scaling and different things like that. You know, there is a bit of functionality, but again, you know, I think the takeaway message from me doing this really, hopefully, is to convey that very thing that, you know, if I didn't know how to draw with a pencil and paper, I would not be able to use this software in this way. I just wouldn't be able to do it. And anyone who's ever tried to draw like this into a piece of software like this will know that that is true. You know, it's not something just anybody can do. You do need to have a certain skill set already there to be able to utilise what this gives you. And it takes a little while to master it. I mean, my first attempts at digital drawing were terrible. You know, I gave up on it several times because I just thought there is no way I'm ever going to learn how to do it. That's actually wrong, that mark there. Just knock that back. I've got a kneaded rubber up here, believe it or not. You get a range of different types of rubber, and I like the kneaded one because it doesn't take off all the marks. You know, you can still get the sort of map lines of where you've been, but it just kind of knocks everything back. So, you know, it refines the line so you don't get confused, in exactly the same way as if I was drawing with a pencil and paper. I'd have my kneaded eraser to do that job. But anyway, I digress from what I was talking about. Yeah, it took me quite a long time, really, to get to grips with this. And but I'm so pleased that I persevered, because now I know how to do it. It just opens up so many possibilities, not least from a financial point of view. You know, I struggle, like a lot of artists do, to get adequate working space. You know, it's really quite hard to find places to work. I have space. At the moment, I'm in an attic room in the house. I have access to a small space in the garage, which at the moment the roof is leaking. So I can't really do anything with paper in that space because it's too damp in there. I'm in the attic room at the moment where I've got my computer, but again, it's a very small, cramped space. There's lots of other things in here. So it's certainly not a designated studio space just for me to create my art. Albeit, you know, I do, and I have created larger things and struggled to do it. But for artists who really don't have any space at all, are not likely to be getting any anytime soon, because the cost of rentals on studio space is, you know, immense, really. It's not in reach of most people's budgets, certainly not mine. So from that point of view, you know, it's far more economical. You don't need a studio space. And a lot of artists kind of have developed like a sort of hybrid way of working, whereby, you know, and I do myself more and more, where I'll create bits of my work like this. And I have been known in the past to, you know, if I've got a portrait commission, to do a lot of it digitally and then have, you know, have all the underpainting work done digitally, and then have it printed onto canvas. And so I can paint the rest of it on the canvas, you know, and it just really helps the process. Now, as you can see here, I've been drawing away and I've got the figure. I think I've got the stance of the figure there, you know. But as you'll notice, it's too low down on the piece of paper. There's the edge of my paper there. If I had a sheet of paper in front of me and a pencil, and I realised that, what I could do is attach another sheet to the bottom of the existing piece of paper, you know, because it's only a sketch. Or I could rub out most of these lines and just recreate them further up the paper. But this is something, a bit of genius that I've discovered you can do with this. Let me just find the right thing. So I want to go down here to layer options, and then here I choose transform layer contents. So as you can see now, it's got like this dotted line all the way around it, sort of put it into its own little box. And it means that I can pick it up pick the whole thing up and shift it up my paper and just tick that box there, and it comes in, as you can see. So there's more room now. I can put that little foot in. Without having to, you know, and you can rescale it as well. You can make it smaller or larger, you know. So, and again, you know, there will be people who'll say, well, that's cheating, you know, that's not. But is it though? I mean, it's a shortcut. It's, yeah, I don't see it as that. I'm going to leave out all the little decorations on the little baby grow thing this is dressed in, because I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I am going to put some information into the face. Again, I don't want to be super detailed or anything. I just want to get an idea roughly where the eyes are. And so I just want to make some explanatory marks. Kind of denotes the position of the features of it. So all my line work is on this layer 1, and you can name your layers. So let's name that one line work. Okay, so I want to create another layer on top of that, and you can move them around so it can go underneath. You can swizz them around, but let's just go with what we had. Layer 2, I'm going to say tone. So I'm going to put some tone in. So down here on this little layers dialog box, there's an eye there where you can turn the visibility of the layer on and off. And down here you can alter the opacity. So when I'm putting in tone, it's always useful to set the opacity at half, so like 50%. So you can see there it's changed it, so only half of that little circle is coloured in. And this time I'm going to go back over to my toolbox, and this time I'm going to choose this pastel crayon over here. I've still got it down at this, I'm not altering the tone or colour or anything down here in the palette. I'm going to leave that at 44%. Let's see what I get. So I can just start to block in the tone, so I can, in the same way that I would with a pencil, I'm just varying the pressure on my stylus on the tablet to lay down areas of tone to kind of describe the three-dimensional aspects of this doll. So yeah, so if I now turn that layer off, it just goes back to our sketch line, turn it back on, turn it back off. And that's really quite handy as you're building the work up. And yeah, this does put you at an advantage because you wouldn't be able to do that with painting and drawing. But it's interesting really, because it does improve your drawing skills when you can separate out all of these little elements you know, it does help me, because when I come to, if I was doing life drawing, for instance, I would kind of know the order of events, if you like, in laying down my marks and the different tools I would need to create something that looks three-dimensional within a two-dimensional space. So yeah, so that is in a nutshell how I work into Art Rage to help me create my paintings. So I hope that was useful and interesting, and I will continue to make videos to record my progress and show how I'm actually creating my work. And yeah, so thank you for your time, and see you on the next one.